Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about something simple but deeply misunderstood. How we think, how we feel, and how we behave. And why groups have the power to shape all three. Most conflict in the world, whether between nations, communities, or two people sitting across the table, can be traced back to one basic truth. We do not control other people's thoughts or emotions. And if we are honest, we do not always control our own, at least not at first. But there is one thing we can always bring under direction: our behavior. Behavior is the foundation of the Psychonics Recovery Method, PRM, the system I designed by adapting the structure of Critical Incident Stress Debriefing and combining it with the legal skills I learned for distinguishing facts, thoughts, and emotions. Facts are not feelings. Facts are not interpretations. Facts are what we do. Behavior is measurable. Behavior is observable. Behavior is tangible. And behavior can be guided deliberately, constructively, and ethically. When we understand our thoughts and when we feel our emotions instead of being driven by them, we reclaim control over one domain where responsibility is non-negotiable: our actions. But there is a complication. Human beings do not live in isolation. We live inside groups. Families, communities, religions, nations, workplaces, and group influence is one of the most powerful forces in psychology. Groups as a multi-level system. Psychologists often describe groups as multi-level systems. That simply means behavior is shaped at several levels at once. There's the individual level where personality, experiences, and emotions influence how we respond. There's a group level where norms and expectations develop about how members should behave. And there is the larger cultural level where history, institutions, and shared narratives shape the group itself. These levels interact constantly. Individuals influence groups, groups influence individuals, and culture shapes both. Understanding that structure helps explain why people sometimes behave very differently inside a group than they would alone. Group dynamics: how communities shape behavior. Classic research like Robbers Cave shows it's an experiment. It shows how quickly groups form identities, draw boundaries, and escalate conflict, even when the stories are artificial. Now imagine those same dynamics operating under real conditions: persecution, displacement, historical trauma, generational fear, and the need to survive. Groups carry memories the way individuals carry scars. Those memories can teach wisdom, but they can also amplify threat, harden defensiveness, and justify behavior that individuals alone may never choose. This is not about blame. It is about understanding the architecture of influence. Groups transmit norms, vigilance, and interpretations of danger across generations. And unless something interrupts that pattern, it continues. A theoretical framework of performance. Another important concept in group psychology is social facilitation, which explains how the presence of other people affects performance. These dynamics reflect classic findings in social psychology, particularly the work of Robert Zejonk on social facilitation and the early group identity research of Muzafer Sharif. When others are present, our level of arousal increases. That can improve performance on tasks we know well, but it can also make complex or unfamiliar tasks more difficult. Two common forms of this effect are called coaction and audience effects. Coaction occurs when people perform the same task alongside others. Audience effects occur when someone performs the task while being observed. Both situations change motivation, focus, and emotional intensity. Personal examples. I have experienced both of these effects personally. An example of coaction comes from my academic writing process. When I'm working interactively with AI systems while developing research papers or theoretical frameworks, the shared task environment creates a kind of coaction dynamic. Even though the AI is not human, the presence of an active collaborator increases my focus and productivity. Ideas move faster, structure becomes clearer, and the work accelerates. Faster, clearer, and an example of that audience effects happens whenever I prepare lectures, research presentations, or public writing. Knowing that an audience will eventually read or hear the work changes how carefully I construct my ideas. I slow down, organize more intentionally, and make sure the message is clear. Like you saw me just hesitate on faster, clearer, and accelerates because these are redundant. The ideas are faster, the structure is clear, and the work obviously would be both. The audience is not performing this task with me, but their presence still shapes the performance, like me talking to the video right now. Did you see? And no, I'm not going to delete it because this is supposed to be dynamic. Shall we talk about why I built PRM? PRM exists because people deserve a way out of inherited emotional patterns, not by denying them, but by navigating them. It asks 5 things. What happened? The fact. Why did I think about it? The thought. How did it make me feel? The reaction. What can I learn from this teaching? Where do I go from here? Re-entry. This structure creates clarity during confusion, direction during danger, and dignity during conflict. It allows individuals to step outside the emotional momentum of the group and reconnect with behavior as the ground truth. A personal reflection. I want to say something that may sound unusual in an academic setting, but it's true. I am very fortunate to be autistic, not because autism is easy, it isn't, but because the way my mind is wired makes me unusually resilient to destructive group dynamics. Where many people unconsciously absorb the emotional chaos of the group, I tend to see the structure beneath it. Where others pressure to merge with collective fear or anger, I don't. I track patterns. I map anomalies. I observe danger as information rather than identity. My instinct is not to escalate, retaliate, or conform. My instinct is to orient towards safety, clarity, and truth. That is not a liability for the work I do. It is a gift. And if I may speak in the language of faith for a moment, yes, I believe God made me perfectly suited for this role. Not to rise above people, but to help untangle the patterns that keep all of us trapped. The heart of the matter, Pastor Miller once said, our altruistic nature should be based on our love for God and it being shown to God's people. When we talk about anger, conflict, and judgment, as Matthew 5:21-26 does, it's Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 through 26. What we are really talking about is the difference between what we think, what we feel, and what we choose to do. Again, thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Interpretation is subjective. Judgment is God's. Behavior is ours. Love is not naive. Love is not passive. Love is the disciplined choice to act with integrity, even when fear or anger try to take the wheel. In closing, groups shape us. History shapes us. Trauma can shape us. But behavior is where the transformation becomes possible. PRM is not an empty method. It is an invitation. An invitation to observe without absorbing, to choose wisely when emotion is loud, and to let behavior become the cleanest expression of our values. Thank you. And thank you, ChatGPT 5.1, for listening and learning and leading the way with me.